All right, Code Extreme day one. We're tired, but we're still having fun. All right, so design questionnaire. Right. So this is for the designers and front-end developers predominantly. Um, I have added this to the Slack channel, the CLEPT Slack channel, project channel. Um, so I haven't read this yet. So other product examples accomplish similar goals. I think we're not surprised here. Glassdoor, Zillow, Yelp, Uber, and Uber's method of verification identity. I would also consider here as well designers apartments.com. And I think apartments.com, well, Zillow in terms of how you claim a property, but apartments.com, is also not a bad one to think about. What do you like about these examples? I like how they use rating systems for reviews. I like their verification method Uber uses. Who's your target audience? Everyone who rents or those who own rental properties? Well, it's not everyone, right? Because I'm not sure if he's targeting corporate renters, as Etuno pointed out on our last call. So let's assume he's targeting, or the initial target, I should say, would be, just people renting property, as well as those who own rental properties. It can be people or companies. And we're starting in the Rhode Island market, so that's it's now a seller's market, which means that there are more sellers market means there are more buyers than sellers. Buyers market is the opposite. So he said globally, primarily in the US, and I'll even go one step lower than that, Rhode Island. So Rhode Island, US, then global. For us to go global, we'll have to internationalize addresses, right? And there are other things that are slightly different when you go global. So let's start with the US market, so that way we're not having to think about all the different combinations. I would say, just use the opportunity. I think this is a really good recommendation for Next Stop Global. I would say Nigeria. I think most of you agree. So think about the Nigerian context as well, and where there are overlaps possible, then we'll address those. How do you want your target audience to feel while using your product? I want them to feel well informed when considering new tenants or leasing a new place. And I would even add to this designers trust, right? I want to feel a sense of trust. What does that feeling mean to you? It gives me a sense of validation, knowing that I'm helping people avoid stress of evictions. So he's biased from a landlord perspective, even though he understands the tenant's plight, but he's a landlord. Also helping people find the best place for their family and unique needs. What colors come to mind when you think about that feeling, red and white? So designers, color theory, right? So red might invoke a reaction that's not what's this side. That's not the reaction that they want here. So as you employ color theory to think about this, it probably won't be the FF0000 red, probably some variation of red. That makes sense? Which designers have? Yeah. Okay. All right. If time and money were not an object, what would the perfect product look and feel like? A mobile app that can be downloaded. Jeremiah, this answers your question, via App Store, Google Play Store, and Windows Store. How about the Windows Store? We're probably not going to do that one. We're going to start with these two. Because Windows Store, I'm guessing there's no is Windows Mobile still a thing? That's still alive? Does anybody know?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can you come again, Kino, please?
Is the Windows Mobile still a thing? Oh, no, it's not. Obina said. Okay.
It's not.
So I'm assuming he's thinking Windows apps, and we're not doing a desktop platform. So I would guess and say this one is not valid. It will be an app that people can go on to look for apartments and houses to rent for long-term and short-term. That's V2. Yeah. They can also, so this is if money were no object and you could do whatever you wanted, right? In our case, it's time. They can also leave reviews of previous places they leased. As for landlords, it will be an additional source to find tenants and thoroughly vet a potential tenant to avoid any hidden surprises. The app will also have forms and blog posts to help landlords and tenants alike avoid any future issues. We might have the opportunity here to use that same homepage that was designed and drop that in a WordPress site and then just turn on the blogs. And when you click login, it goes to the app. So we might be able to do this part as a stretch. If you have a current product, what needs to be preserved to maintain brand identity? Well, he has no current products, that's empty. So it's web, mobile, and Android. We know that already. Constraints, avoid anything that shows bias towards race, ethnicity, age. Let me be explicit about that as well. So race, ethnicity, age, gender is another. So hope you are writing this down, designers. So gender, the other one is family. Like, you have children versus no children. What else? Yeah, you can, in some cases, the US allows you in some cases to discriminate based on age, because there are some communities that are specifically for senior citizens, and you have to be above a certain age to live in that community. But there are some cases, but in general, you can't discriminate. Yeah. Yeah, yes, sir. Children versus children. Are there brand guidelines we need to follow? If so, what are they? And share the link to your brand guide. So there's none. And I think he shared in his story in the beginning that he's also a designer. So if there was anything, we would know. And I think we can assume quick turnaround with feedback. Are there things we must do? Well, cool. It says it all. I trust you'll create a product that is simple to use and promotes equality. So I want to emphasize simple. The real estate market in the US, the web or technology is a bit behind the wave. I mean, even the number one site, apartments.com, it is a cool site, but one could argue it is also a busy site. Yeah. And even when you go to Zillow, so there's opportunities to make, I don't think there's an apartments.com mobile, and Zillow mobile might be a lot better than the Zillow web. Are there things we cannot do? So we have full license. So it seems like we have here, design team, a lot of license to do what we need to get done. Cool. Any question on this, and specifically designers and front-end devs? That's a no, no questions?
I have just one question. So I heard, because I just joined the meet. So I heard that I was supposed to deliver the wireframes. I wanted to know exactly when I was supposed to do that. What's the deadline?
So forgive me, I'm running on Eastern clock.
Okay.
Maybe our next code extreme, we probably should really consider running on the clock where most people are. But since, or maybe the clock of the geography that code extreme is good enough. But I'm talking about by the time we meet next, right? So whenever is our next meeting, that is when we want to get those done. So we have to.
So when is our next meeting in EST? Let me
Oh,
just so
next
that I can
meeting
look.
EST. We have not scheduled that yet. So could you remind me? Let's schedule that before we end. I had stand up 7 a.m. EST is our next meeting. Wait, that's what I have for a placeholder, 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. That doesn't necessarily have to be it. I have it going live as well. And we didn't do anything live today. Where we're doing all this recording and we're going to be posting it after. So I'm not convinced yet that it has to be live this week. Next week, it has to be, because there's going to be a live slot, but this week it might not have to be. So even though I have 7 a.m. as our meeting time, we could possibly change it. So let's just say 7 a.m. the earliest. Latte. Yeah, Paula.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Paula, you and I might have to do some split up where you do stand-ups and I do this. All right. Thanks, Tate. Okay, any more questions on this? All right, so the last part is primarily for the designers. So let's just go. Let's just dive right in. So Kunet, you wanted to lead with the questions that you had specifically? You wanted to see a user flow, yes? Kunet, you there?
I guess Queenette is on her way back from work, and where she is noisy, so maybe she will communicate via chat.
Okay. Do you know? Well, what specifically do you guys want? Sorry, I didn't hear that. Go ahead.
Kuna just dropped the message via Zoom, so I think she's actually following, but she can just pick at the moment.
Okay, but she had mentioned user flow. So I'll try and make one up. How about that? Not make one up, but document it. Or I think you might want it.
Well, I think she said she would like to see a user flow. You know, like those things you draw in like when we wanted to do Habitly, and you know when you said questions, habits have questions, and habits have goals. Sorry, users have habits have goals. So that's the way you broke it down. Like you put like different like charts, and so we could see all the features and all the different kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so everybody will do this. And they would
I'm sorry, Kino. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can they review landlord before creating accounts?
No. I see where you're going. Okay. Well, their processes are also very different, aren't they? The process of a landlord creating an account and a tenant creating an account is, we said, was slightly different. That work? So far, so good? So tenant creates an account, searches for property. They're gonna read reviews or review the landlord. Landlord creates an account. Well, they don't search for property. They're gonna add a property. Is what the landlord would do, right? So they're gonna claim a property, claim or add the property. Oops. Yeah. So the two things the landlord is going to do is they're going to claim or add a property or read a tenant review. And for their property, they're going to review the tenant. And then the tenant is going to create a property, look for a property, then review the landlord or read the landlord reviews. Am I missing anything?
Kilo, I like to ask, I don't know if I'm joining you back. You, for the landlord, you said claim or add a property. So as a landlord, the properties they are claiming, are they properties that we put up for them or automatically not put there? I'm trying to get the idea behind it.
So these are the properties we add. Yeah.
Okay.
So these are properties that we put up. And yeah. And the properties that they're adding are properties that they're adding. Hold on 1 second. Thank you. You too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hello,
sure.
Kino.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, so sorry, I wasn't following up on the previous meeting very much because I was in a very noisy environment. But then this claiming of property, I remember when we had the first meeting with Frosty. Yeah, we talked about the claiming of property stuff, where how I think we were trying to find a solution of how do we know if the landlord who wants to claim the property actually owns, if the property actually belongs to he or she.
Ah,
I don't know if you remember. Yeah.
yep.
So did we clarify the issue as regard to this present project?
Yeah, you're correct. Let's do that. Right. It's a good one. Oops. Still. Okay. Wait, let me know. Right? Better? And then yeah, and then what else? There's a admin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so a quick one, please. I don't know. I've been following, but I don't. A couple of times my network kicked me out. I didn't know if this scenario was considered. Now, as a tenant, I want to post a review on the landlord who is not on CLEPT and whose property has not been listed on CLEPT. How does that work?
So we made a note for if the landlord isn't on CLEPT, then the profile account is going to be created. Yeah. And we talked about how we reconcile that when the landlord actually creates an account. And part we can do now, part we'll push. But I don't think we'd addressed if the property was not unclipped. We just assumed that the property was unclipped. So let me just take a note somewhere to address that. Because if the property isn't unclipped, if we're using the USPS API, this, yes, Squarely makes this a US product for now. I think it's address info API. I'm dropping it in the Slack for CLEPT. So you get that? So if the property isn't there, then technically we can just create the record, right? If the property is matched against the USPS.
So the tenant goes ahead to create the property, right? Or
I'd say the tenant goes ahead and creates the property. The account gets created. The property gets created. The tenant doesn't own the property record, but the property gets created. So let's add a note. So we're saying if the tenant is reviewing a property, is reviewing a landlord for a property that does not exist, then the property is validated against USPS API and added to the system. The admin is notified. That work? Would that cover the scenario you mentioned, OJ?
yes. Though I still see a loophole, but then I've not really constructed it well in my head. When it comes up, I'll let you know.
So if we're reviewing a landlord that does not exist, then the landlords, then a is right.
Hello, Kino, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello.
go ahead.
Sorry, I said, what about vice versa? A landlord is trying to review a tenant that does not exist.
Same thing.
Okay, and
The opposite is the same as well.
okay.
Let it open.
Okay, Kino, two things. I don't know. We are yet to get clarification on how you verify if a landlord is the owner of a particular property. I mean, how to particularly say that this landlord is the owner of a particular property, especially for landlords that because anybody can just create an account and claim that I own this property, put out pictures and all of these things. What system do we have in place?
Yeah.
Then the second thing I wanted to talk about, for scenarios whereby there is an information up for a particular landlord, don't you think it can get into a legal situation by, I mean, some people can say, I do not want my house or my building up on your site. Don't you think it can get legal?
Okay, good questions. So the first one, which is how do you verify that a landlord is on the system? So we have a card here. As a landlord, I want to be able to claim property. So that's 15, yeah? And so in this, there's a process, but there's a manual component to it. So the admin, the CLEPT admin, will do whatever stuff they need to do to verify that. There might be a technology solution to this, but I think it may require connecting to existing Register of Deeds records, and you'll be surprised a lot of these things aren't online. So this might not even be possible. And we could also research how is Zillow doing this as well. So if we assume that we're doing it manual for now, then here the next one, 16, is just a matter of the admin clicking and selecting who owns the property. So on the property edit screen, there'll be a drop down that has whoever the landlord is, and you will just select or enter whoever that landlord is going to be, right? So the second question from a legal perspective. So I think the legal perspective, we have to look at how Glassdoor is handling that legal, so there's a workaround. Property listing information is public in the US, and who owns a property is also public information. Like anybody can go to the Register of Deeds and grab any property and you can see who owns that property.
That's not the same here.
Right? Yeah. So, which it probably should be, right? So you can, it's public information. Well, no, because then that could cause shakedowns. Yeah, so it probably shouldn't be. But yeah, so
Yeah, close the door, please.
yeah. So
they will cause a lot of trouble here if they try.
Yeah. So Providence is probably a bit, but it varies from municipality to municipality. Rhode Island has 37 municipalities, and all of them might not be on the same Register of Deeds. Yeah. Or may be online and some may not be online. And, I don't know how many municipalities in the entire country. So that's why it would necessitate that this is that manual step. Yeah. So that information public. Now, from the tenant perspective, if you go and, lambast a tenant online and saying all sorts of stuff, then yes, there's a potential liable issue there. But if however Glassdoor is handling that, would probably have to tread that same line. Someone can post a YouTube video about somebody doing something, and that person might not want that video there. And there's a process. That person contacts YouTube, YouTube takes that video down because YouTube doesn't want to get sued. That's not what it's about, So it will be the same thing here. That person through their legal channels contacts CLEPT, and CLEPT just takes down the review, which would mean that we would need a feature for admin to remove a review. So thanks for bringing that up. And then reviews. You have to set a reason, right? Right? I mean, we could create a flag, but why create an extra field? If it has a reason in there, then it's removed. If it doesn't, then it's not. Good enough? Or should we put a flag? And I should stop being lazy. And so the one here and one here. Let's put the flag. I'm being lazy. I'm sorry. Thanks, Jeremiah, whoever mentioned that. All right, any question? Oh, let's go back to here. So thank you. That was a miss. Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Connect.
Yeah, good evening. So I was going to ask, right, about what OJ brought up. He said if the tenant is reviewing a client for a property that does not exist, so how possible is that I will come on a system and review a property or review a client, a landlord for a property that doesn't exist?
Well, in the beginning, it's quite possible, because we may not have all the properties on the platform as yet, but long term, it become less and less possible, and it would only be possible when there's new construction. So this is a brand new property. It just got built, today, and it's rented in October. The tenant moves in October, and for whatever reason, moves right back out or moves out in September. And it's a brand new property. It could just not be on the system yet because it's a brand new property. So there needs to be, making a note, there needs to be a way to maintain properties on the platform, or to ensure that all properties are on the platform. Good question. Does that answer your question, Quinette?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions for this? I'm gonna drop this in the project. All right. Did I miss anything?
I think I have a question. It's building on what Queen had asked earlier. How would okay, so I think the spelling of names can be different sometimes, right? And then how will we ensure that when a tenant reviews a landlord, right, maybe one that's not on the system currently, that is the same landlord that is being read by another tenant?
Yeah. I can't think of a way that we would know.
Wouldn't the address help with that?
The address could help with that, yeah.
Yeah.
We could have a feature later on that where we say if the property already exists and we already know the landlord, then once we click and if the property exists and we let me put a note here so I can get my thought out. So if the property exists and the platform already knows who the landlord is, then a reviewing tenant will not be able to change the landlord, something like that. Maybe not be able to change the landlord, or will be notified as to the landlord they're leaving the review for.
Okay, so but at the beginning stage of this this project, right? How will we identify in that once this project launches, right, there will be very little information on the system?
Yes.
So how would reviews be linked to landlords, especially seeing that landlords will not be on the system at that point?
Yes, we won't. We won't. The first wave of information, there'll be no way for us unless there will be no way for us, TMG, to verify that. CLEPT may be able to manually verify that. But I don't know how they would, maybe call up the property. It's like, you're CLEPT, do you have, are you the owner? Or they could contact the registry to verify that the landlord that the person is mentioning is the landlord. They already verified the tenants. They can verify that the tenant lived there by showing the bill, the utility bill, right? That's how you verify that the tenant lived there. But other than that, I don't know outside of that.
All right.
Yeah. So I don't think we have a user story for this, and this might again be a manual process. Oh, somebody's trying to say something, but they're breaking up.
Hello, can you hear me, Kino?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so another scenario just played out in my head, and I'm thinking if we're just going to be leaving that future for V2 or if it has been considered already. Cases of property handover. I'm selling my property, I've sold my property, or I'm handing it over due to a legal issue or something, but I'm transferring the property. How is the landlord going to be switched? Basically.
Good question. So the same user story, I think we actually mentioned that on the user story. So when the claim story, which one is that? Is that 17? Yeah, this story here. So it's a manual verification, and the existing owners are going to be sent an email as well. So that's not been done by technology. It's a manual step. And then this number 16, the admin, will change the owner of the property. Now, the other question, which is out of the scope of what we're doing here, is this scalable, right? And for launch, it might be fine, but once you start going, you know, 1 million homes, this manual verification might not be the way to go. At that point, we would have to adopt, you know, so probably have to research Zillow and you know, and Glassdoor as to how they do it, their process. And that's pretty straightforward. Just find a property that's claimed and try to claim it. I'm adding a note.
Okay, I think Paula asked a question in the chat.
I'm sorry, what do you say?
It seems Paula asked a question in the chat.
I'm not seeing it. I see. Oh, Tola. Oh, would it be all right? Protect us if we had a disclaimer that states a tenant should only review a property? Yes. Absolutely. So designers, you know, take that note, what Tola just said, you know. Yeah. A tenant should only review a property he, she has lived at, and a landlord should only leave a review for tenants that have lived at their property. Let's add that someplace. Okay.
Okay, so with that, right? So how do we confirm that that tenant has actually lived there? And
Utility bill.
okay, so if you say utility bill and say I have my landlord is not a very great landlord, right? And then I leave a review, then I want my friends just so I can get back at him for probably something he did, right? So I get all of my friends to do the same thing and I give them my utility bill.
Their names won't be on it.
Oh, okay. Wait. Huh? Okay. So that means that happens over there, your name is usually on your utility bill.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. Okay. That makes sense then.
That's not true for you?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's nothing saying where you live? There's no official document that shows your address?
Well, the utility bill shows my address, but my name is not on it.
But there's no official document that ties your name with your address?
There's no official document that says no.
Yeah,
What can I
I
even
think
link up right now?
so. Most
Yeah,
times
you want to
it's
say something?
usually,
Your bank statement.
yeah, the bank statement. Yeah.
Your bank statement.
Your
Well,
bank statement.
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it shifts to
Yeah.
Nigeria, maybe that's what they'll
Statement
have
is
to
not.
use. And I'm
What
sure,
did you say,
I mean,
OJ?
I don't think bank statement, Jerry. Who says bank statement there?
Exactly. Like, I don't know, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think.
if for the target audience it works, like that utility bill works, then yes, they actually make.
Mhm.
My bank statement is still carrying my parents' home. Not going to my state.
Yeah, but the reason why I actually said the disclaimer is it offers the first layer of protection, because that means a tenant, once it is stated that a tenant, you should not reveal an apartment you do not have an experience with. Now that should be clearly stated. So if, for example, that kind of scenario and the tenant, now if the tenant comes and says my landlord was terrible, now that tenant has an experience with that landlord, which is why the tenant said so. Now, it could be debatable, yes, but that is how reviews work. But the tenant's friends don't have an experience, they don't have a direct experience with the landlord. Now, the term experience is something we might redefine in version 2 and subsequent versions. But for now, I think has to be that you stayed in that apartment. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna add a field just in thinking ahead. It's like a verified checkbox. So the UI treatment on reviews, it can have an icon as to whether this is verified or not. Yeah. Similar to the way Amazon has the verified or not verified icon or however they state. And then we could later on have a way to, verify this review, whether it's manually or automatically. All right, another message. Tola, now you be English teacher. Oh, that's funny. I was watching parts of a Nigerian movie over the weekend. Oh my ghetto, and if y'all watch that.
Hey, went to this.
Yeah, I was watching Omo Ghetto and I was like, I had to watch subtitles because I really couldn't follow at all.
Yeah, I said you went to the street this time around.
Yeah, I went in the streets. Absolutely. I went in the streets. All right. So we good for now? Actually, I have to run to another call. Are we good, designers? You're up. Everybody's waiting on you. Well, and me and Paula, Philip. And the next call, we're getting help from, we're onboarding a business analyst to help us with the acceptance test. So I have to go talk to him so he can start working tonight. But everybody else is good. Any questions? Stack me if you have it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, on a lighter note, probably if you want to have a long meeting like today, if you want to have that tomorrow or other times, you can have a 5-minute music break from our playlist. Like while on the call, the music just plays.
Oh, play the music in the background? Oh, okay, sure. I'll do that. That's definitely.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll definitely do that. So I'll do it in closing. How about that?
Okay.
Where's the playlist? All right, startup week. Where's the playlist?
Please start with feeling. Don't please.
Feeling. Okay, so Feeling is a cool song, but it's not PG. It's a good song. It's a wonderful song. And my friend Budge is in there, but it's not a PG song. So I don't know if we can add that one to the list.
What do you mean by PG though?
PG meaning something that children of all age can sing the lyrics and ascribe to what the lyrics are saying. So homeboy was talking about his, pretty much just talking about drinking alcohol, flashing gang symbols, and killing you. So maybe some of the words you missed it. There's subtle American translations in there. Yeah, it's borderline gangster rap. Yeah, it's borderline gangster rap, Jeremiah. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I had it up and see I'm almost halfway through the song. I was listening to it, but I was like, I'll jam to this, but yeah, it's not PG enough for our potential audience. And you have to remember, in this country, I represent Black people, which is a weird sensation that because I have a public stage, it's that whenever Black folks who have a public stage does something, it's pointed as, see, this is what all Black people do. So it's a lot of unnecessary stress, but I have to be very mindful of specific things like that, unfortunately. So give me another song. I realize that there are no Jamaican songs on here. So, you definitely grab me another Buju. There are some really cool other Bujus like Till Shiloh, there's some Bob Marley, there's some whatever. And I don't know, the only Nigerian singers I know are, Sinak and T.Y. Bello, Nathaniel Bassey, and, those people. Ada, so you can give me some other ones. All right. Well, until then, we'll close out unhappy. Show my Jesus. All right. So tell me one which slap me one specific Quinette that you like. Which Shoma Jesus is your favorite one? All right, y'all give me some really good ideas. Could you slack this? It's up in the chat. Yeah, slack all of this. I'm dropping the Slack so I don't lose it. My friend. All right, bye y'all. Y'all can log off now. We'll catch you tomorrow.
All right,
Okay.
bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Take care.